Welcome to the doghouse. Hope you're all having a great day. I sure the hell am. This is going to be about false copyright strikes. And what I mean by that is these people are getting on here. And I mean it's on more than one platform and it's more than one channel that does this. They are willing to go out there and do false copyright strikes on somebody. They know they are false. They know damn well they're false, and they still do it because they think they're cute or it's some kind of war. These are all wrong. I am one that believes that if you have a copyright out there, you have every right to file a strike against it. What you don't have a right to do is falsely doing it when you know that it's false. There could be sometimes there's a fine line between right and wrong or false and not false copyright. And I understand that. And you're going to get a comment, well, no, it followed under these guidelines. Or, yes, you're right. The problem you have with it, though, overall, and I'm not criticizing YouTube because I'm on here, or any other platforms, this is just what's happening. So I'm not boycotting anybody or being mean to anybody here. This is. Oh, I better turn that around. Excuse me. This is just what happens. But the problem is, as most of these places do, if you're one of them that's making a little bit of money, they may avoid it and turn you off as far as anything wrong. If you're smaller, and it happens on here too, by the way. I haven't had it happen, but some of the smaller channels, when they're attacked, they're always guilty right off the bat. If one of the smaller channels complain about a bigger channel, a lot of times it gets ignored. You figure it out. But here's the problem is these channels, and like I said, it's just not YouTube, and I'm not criticizing them for trying to stop false copyrights or copyright strikes that are real. I'm glad they do that. But what happens is you're automatically guilty, and the same person can go do it 100 times. You're automatically guilty, and they refuse to do anything about the one doing the false copyright strikes. There is no reason people should be out there doing false copyright strikes. You could be my friend, you could be my enemy. It don't make any difference. It's still wrong. You should not be going out and doing this stuff. You hurt the channels, and what's going to happen is things that's happened here recently. And people are going to stand up for what is right one way or other. And I don't mean violence at any means. They're going to stand up with it, viewing or not viewing. And that's what I mean by standing up. And it's going to be, you start losing, you're going to be hurting in the end. But I understand, you get these big creators, and all the more power to them, is if somebody hollers a false or a copyright strike against them, they don't want to deal with it because there's money there. They care less about the littler guy. Because that littler guy, in my opinion, they may act a little bit, but not a lot on it. You think you'd want everybody to grow. But for whatever reason, some of these channels has got this block. If you make a lot, we'll protect you. If we don't make very little or nothing at all, we're going to walk over you. And like I said, this has not happened to me, but this is what I've seen on various channels. And I don't mean like I've seen it on frauditors or auditors channels. I've seen it on people I've watched. I've, you know, I regularly watch. I've seen it on those that I hit and miss and don't watch a lot. All of them have the same problem. People go after them with false copyright strikes, and these channels are automatically guilty, and I mean guilty. And that's the way they look at it, in my opinion. Instead of correcting the problem isn't going after the person that's getting the false copyright strikes. You don't go after them like that. You go after the problem. The problem is them that are doing that. They're actually hurting the ones that are out there making legitimate copyright strikes on somebody. And in the end, it's going to be just like calling Wolf, the little boy who called Wolf. Go look up the story. But there has to be a remedy for these channels or the creators of these platforms other than going after the innocent, saying they're guilty right off the bat. And I have things I think they should do. If you start getting somebody, and they'd have to come up with the exact numbers here. If they come on here and they start doing a whole bunch, at some point they get shut down for a week, and they go ahead and they keep doing it and keep doing it. Then they're shut down for maybe 2 or 3 weeks or whatever. And after that, you don't cancel their channel. You make them pay 100 to 500 depending on the circumstance fine, and on their channels they'll have a mark on it. You got a blue mark on Facebook, which I think was kind of stupid, but you can go with the same concept, a red check mark or whatever, that this creator has so many false copyright strikes that he has sent out that was proven not real. You could prevent that, and also what you're doing is you're freeing up your people to do other things. But these platforms has got to come up with a way to prevent all these false copyright strike against people. They really do. They've got to come up with a way to cure that. But I know the money's there for the big channels, so they're not going to try to step on it. But this would create a situation where if you've seen that mark, you know what they've been doing. You don't have to delete their channel or anything like that. But when you see that check mark on there, people would realize what was going on. Never even have to cancel their channel at all. You could do different colors for different things. And like I said, Facebook, I didn't like it. But in this case, you're showing that somebody was doing something wrong. And no, like I said, there's situations where you could very well think there's a copyright infringement, and it turns out not. That's one thing. You have to take that into a little bit of discretion there. But when you're blatantly doing this, and I bet you some of them, you got 4 or 5, 6 channels that'll start putting copyright strikes out on people that are phony, and you'll see a kind of a circle of these people. They're all the same group of people. And these uh, channels got to realize, or the creators of these sites got to realize when that happens, there is something wrong. Take the time to look at it. Part of the problem is a lot of these channels got so much AI involved, they don't want a real person looking at it. And that's a shame. That's one thing that needs to happen. More people looking and less AI. AI is good and it's good to use, but AI has no common sense on different things said. Common sense, AI really, everybody thinks AI is this good thing, and I do believe it is, but sometimes you have to have common sense with it. And when you have real people looking at this stuff and looking into it, they can catch this stuff. And like I said, I don't want anybody on here putting other people's stuff out without their permission. That's just wrong. And it really is. But here we go again. If it's put out falsely, the people putting it out falsely need taken care of. There has to be a ramification when you do this. And I don't understand why these creators of different platforms don't do this, other than maybe too lazy to have a human look at it. But this is a way you can look into to solve problems. This will protect those out there trying to protect their sites with copyrights that need protected, and they really do. But it will stop the frivolous things on other things that they are doing, like all the false copyright strikes. You could eliminate a lot of them, and that means if you really have a real person doing it, you're not tying him up, and he or she can go do something else. And believe me, it's not one channel, it's not one site, it's across everything that they're doing this. But really, if they sit back and look at a lot of this stuff, they'll find a circle of people going after certain ones constantly. That tells you right there, they're after, these people are out there doing false copyright strikes, and it needs to stop. What's going to happen is going to cause a lawsuit eventually. People that are creating these channels or these sites don't realize that. And you guys, every one of you out there doing the false copyright strikes, every time if they decide to sue you, they can go back and get your IP and everything. You're not hiding it. You may say anonymous or whatever you can do, depending on your sites, but they know who you are and they can go after you, because that isn't right. And these sites can really help, that put out these platforms can really help if they so desire to. And like I said, I don't have nothing against YouTube, Rumble, or any of them. They all have their good points. 98% of the time I do everything on here. Doesn't mean I have to agree with them 100% of the time. But this stuff needs to be stopped. These people just don't realize when they go out and put all these false copyright strikes out, they're hurting the ones that are trying to protect their own site with those that are actually going out and doing that. That people are trying to steal their stuff. But they don't care. They think it's funny. They think they can win by doing this. What are they winning? Not a thing. All they do is hurt the people that are out there trying to protect their own sites with their own copyright material, and have these boneheads go in and make false copyright strikes. Every one of these platforms need to put a stop to this before it gets way out of hand. Every one of them. And that means common sense and less AI.